chair entity for this session, Eva. Ladies and gentlemen, you've all heard of or met Loretta Marron. She has personally, in my view, done more to advance the cause of skepticism than any other single person. Now, you might think, how is that so? Well, she's been the terror of the Therapeutic Goods Administration staff. She's been getting her message. She's got in things like ladies' magazines. Never seen Barry in Women's Day. She's been on television. I don't know what the shows were she was on television because I don't watch daytime commercial television. But nonetheless, she's had this significant effect, and I understand that the federal government has decided, at least the one government this week, has decided to bandy up some money to persuade the Therapeutic Goods Administration to be more thorough. Now, your hands please for Loretta Marron.
If I was to ask all of you here, how many of you have watched an advert on a television set and known the product didn't work, immediately change stations, or looked at a magazine and seen something totally dodgy and just turned the page? I would say that all of you have done it. Yeah. And that includes me as well. And even in supermarkets, gone past the stand and just looked the other way. I'm hoping today to inspire you that next time this happens, you might rethink that choice and stand up and be counted. I've been on a journey that started with me taking on one product. It's been a roller coaster ride. I've met the most amazing people. I've done things I never dreamt I could do. I've stretched myself past any abilities I ever thought I had. There've been sometimes in the car going to a television station where I was going to be sick and I thought, why am I doing this? But if that car had crashed, if I'd broken both legs, I would have got there. And then on the other side, I'd be at a party and I'd find I'm the only one left in the room. They've all left. And the question is, well, what have I achieved? Well, the government-listed products have absolutely not one been delisted. And in terms of products on the shelf, none have been taken off the shelf. People are still rushing in droves to their natural therapists, the homeopath, the naturopath, the kinesiologist. And the big companies that make these products are still raking in the money. But yes, I have achieved something, and I'm hoping to share that with you today. Now, the first thing is, from the beginning of this, I was assured I would probably do nothing. They wished me well, they said, you know, this is just too hard, but go ahead anyway. So I said, I'm not one, I don't like to fail. So the first thing I did was I redefined success for myself. So for me, have I done the best I can? And I can say honestly that I have. So there's just a few points there that I won't read out. I'll start with my story because I gave some of it back 2 years ago, but there's a lot happened since then. So I call it the evolution path. Back in 2003, a senior friend of mine who had arthritis asked me, who was a gentleman, mate, isn't it? First of all, I have a degree in science, majoring in physics and maths, but I'm no rocket scientist. I know B for Band-Aid and P for Panadol and nothing in between, so I'm certainly no doctor. But like yourself, I seek the evidence, which is why when I needed help, I always came to the Skeptics, and they've never let me down yet. Right, this journey that I was on with this senior friend, he had the arthritis, he said, does magnetic therapy work? It costs about $200 to $300, and most people of that age group are pensioners, they can't afford that kind of money. And I thought, well, this is a question I can actually answer. So I went back to my physics roots and I got out the calculator and calculated what the magnetic field was. I've got here a bit of a sample. Magnetic field is a bit like this candle. If you put your finger on it, you'll burn yourself. But a little bit away, there's virtually no heat. The mathematics told me that there was no magnetic field a few inches or a few centimetres above the magnetic underlay. But people don't understand maths. They don't want maths. They want the bathroom scales, or they want a thermometer, or they want a measuring jug. So I thought, well, when I explained to them the maths, I got very blank looks. So, as one does, I went to the States on an email, and I bought this little meter here. It measures magnetism. The day this arrived in my letterbox, when I turned it on, that was the day my journey began. Because when I waved it over the underlay, it read 0. Put it on a fridge magnet, it read 700. Anyway, 2003 had another nasty little surprise for me. Towards the end of the year, I was following a routine mammogram. I was diagnosed with cancer. Now, this is the time in your life where you pass yourself over to your doctors and your demons. 1% of breast cancer patients are actually men. 70% of us go into major depression. Even 6 months after the treatment, I couldn't read a book. All I could do was really look at pictures. I subscribed to a number of senior magazines, so I would flick over the pages and look at the pictures. And I started to see adverts for miracle cancer cures. And I thought, that isn't right. I'm going to complain. So I did. I wrote to the magazines. Of course, they ignored me first. So then I got stronger and stronger. And I actually found one of them had a mission statement for the well-being of seniors. And I think persistence worked out because they actually dropped the magazines, the advertising. And that was great. They had other adverts for herbal remedies, and I started to look them up as well. Fail, fail, fail. I mean, I couldn't do with multivitamins because a lot of seniors, particularly in nursing homes, may not have a good diet, so they were okay, but it's all these magic herbs that kept coming out. Horny goat weed, things like that. And so I started to study that up. Now the one thing, because I knew absolutely nothing about breast cancer, I went to the computer and I Googled. And as you heard yesterday, millions of websites on cancer. And I picked out the good ones, put them in 2 folders. I even looked up what you actually take to the hospital with you. I didn't know if you took towel or soap or anything. And I also looked up how linear accelerator works, as one does, for the radiation therapy. So I had these 2 great folders, and I showed my friends them. And they said, can you run a course for seniors for the University of the Third Age on Googling for health? And I said, no, I won't do that. What I will do is I write a booklet, just a 16-page kitchen drawer booklet. And I went through and I started to write a booklet. Of course, it included herbal remedies and the risks and benefits about using these unproven remedies. I then needed to learn about natural therapies. Well, there's one very quick way you can learn about them. And that's you buy the CD, the Skeptics CD, which goes back over 20 years, and then you sit there and you print out every article ever written on natural therapies. You sit with a highlighting pen, and in a few days you can learn quite a lot about natural therapies. And that certainly helped me understand. I didn't know what homeopathy was, or kinesiology, or any of those things. So that was definitely a fantastic resource that I could use. In doing the booklet, 2 things happened. One is I contacted Dr. Geraldine Moses, who many of you know from 2005 Skeptics Conference. She was running the Adverse Events Helpline, which is when drugs go wrong, call this number. It's a fantastic line. If you want to try something new, you can ring them up and ask them, will this conflict with my blood pressure medication? And a real person is on the end of the phone and will get back to you. So I contacted them and I said, look, I'm doing the booklet. Can you help me? And Dr. Geraldine Moses said, what's your story? And I said, well, I've started off with magnetic therapy, but now I'm trying to help seniors stop getting them ripped off. And she agreed to help me. The booklet included phone numbers and links to very good websites like Parkinson's, prostate, all the different cancer websites. It also had little hints and helpful things like if you don't understand computers, go to your library, take the booklet, and go to the counter. The staff will actually set you up. So it was one of those sorts of things where was helping people. A lot of seniors are not computer literate. As part of that, I was linked to a suicide prevention website because apparently the highest rate of suicide is among seniors, which I certainly didn't know. But a psychiatrist from Melbourne sent me all this information, and then out of the blue he said, Loretta, you're doing booklets. He said, that's a lot of work. You couldn't get to thousands of people, but he said if you had a website, you could reach millions. And he had a website and he gave it to me. Well, the next 3 weeks I sat and I learned how to program in HTML, as one does, and I set the website up. So the next thing, I had the website, I thought, what do I do now? I've got to let people know about it. So then every Sunday I would write 20 emails. And one of them was to a newspaper called The Senior. And this one is one that's free in your local pharmacy, 1.2 million circulation. Anyway, I said I'm a cancer patient, I'm a senior, and I've got a really good website. And the deal was, the website could not advertise anything. It had to be just links, information. And because it wasn't advertising, they said, we'd like to do a story on you. So I guess in the roller coaster journey, at that point I was pushing the cart up the hill, and a few skeptics were helping me, and I got to the top at that point, because the roller coaster started picking up speed after that. The next thing, I got a phone call from Dr. Geraldine Moses, and she said, you know, one of the Channel 9 wanted someone to challenge magnetic therapy. And I thought, right, I'll do that. I mean, at this point it might have been the medication, but I seemed to say yes to it anyway. So then I had the weekend to think about it, and I thought, I don't look like a scientist. What am I thinking? I thought, all right, I'll become a jelly bean therapist. Now I have here, these are actually TV stars. One of these has jelly beans, one of these has magnets, and I waved the machine over and I asked people which ones were what. And of course they can't tell. So I had a very good demonstration ready, and I thought, okay, I went to the local pharmacy, they had the naturopath on duty, copied everything verbatim, but put jelly bean therapist. Then I made a whole range of products. Jelly bean acupressure bracelets, jelly bean pain relief jewellery, jelly bean detox pads, which was a piece of gourd with a jelly bean stuck in the middle, and I also had herbal tea, which was jelly beans on kebab sticks. I even had my homeopathy kit there, which always had a big box with a spider coming out, saying keep out property of Samuel Hahnemann. Anyway, so then I was ready, and all I had at that point, I found a toddler's apron at Spotlight. And my friend had actually made it so I could get my head through it. And I thought, pair of earrings, I used real jelly beans, and a headband. And then I waited for Channel 9 to come in. Anyway, so they turned up and they looked a little bit surprised. And they said, what's your story? What's your story with the magnets? And I asked them the question, then I showed them the fridge magnet. And they said, you'll have more running for the fridge magnet. Anyway, the next week, out came the TV show, had all my friends watching, bought the champagne out, my debut on TV, and it was a great hit. Channel 9 loved it. They made the other guy look like a total loser. Nice looking fella, but you know, I broke my back in 6 spots, and one night on the magnetic therapy and I'm healed. So that was really good. Anyway, as I say, the roller coaster, little cart's getting a bit faster. Next thing you know, you go into your emails, and through the website, I think people found my email address, and it was New Idea magazine. And first of all you think, who's having a go at me? Anyway, they said they wanted to talk to me about my website. I said, I can do better than that. I'm the jelly bean lady. Anyway, they thought, this is good. So they interviewed me. And I had no idea when the article was going to come out. Anyway, I thought, I'm onto something here. I need help. So I contacted Bob Bruce, the Queensland Skeptics, and he said, come on over next meeting and tell the story. And I was very lucky because Lillian Derrick was at that meeting as well, and she invited me to present at the 2005 Skeptics Conference. Now, I hadn't done a presentation in 15 years, but of course I said yes, and I went through and talked about my story up until that point. And within 2 weeks, oh, that's the website. I'll be repeating that later on. This article came out, a full page in New Idea magazine, in Dr. John Darcy's section. And not that you have to read it there now, but one of my favourite herbal remedies are a cup of tea, a piece of chocolate and a glass of wine. So that's the kind of sensible advice that I give. Now that gave me new opportunities. You can imagine I could link to that, and I could photocopy it, and I scanned it and sent it. So the next thing was developing strategies. I thought, how can I take advantage of this? And I thought, right, I'll contact the media, I'll contact radio stations and television. And at this point, 4BC, now you've heard of 2UE and John Law's always pushing Marcus Blackmore's products. I got contacted by Tony Murphy on 4BC, and he invited me to come in to be interviewed. And I said, yes, I'd come in. By this time, I've got really good at making outfits. I'm pretty good with the glue. Very professional, the seamstress I am. And I went in there, and I thought, you get one go at these things. I'm never very positive. I always think, one go. So he interviewed me, and I went for it. I attacked naturopaths and pharmacists, and every time he challenged me, I'd slap another clinical trial or report on the table. And then at the end of it, as happens, I said, look, can you just tell the people about the adverse events helpline, because it's really handy if they can ring up and talk to a pharmacist. And he said, what do they do? I said, well, say you're on colloidal silver, and it'll turn you blue and you'll go blind. Tony was on colloidal silver. That day, I was given my own radio show, which lasted over a year. And then back to the Skeptics again, because they let me produce it. So what I did was I would ask for a cancer specialist. So I got Professor Ray Lowenthal. There's Steve Roberts. We had anything to do with energy and woo stuff. Steve's the man for you. And that was great. And there was one person that was of interest as well. I mean, I was watching TV, Channel 7 in the morning, and this amazing woman came in, shot from both hips. And what she was Professor Leslie Campbell, Garden Institute, Professor of Medicine, Obesity and Diabetes, and she just slammed everything to do with all these herbal weight loss remedies and detox and stuff like that. And I thought, I want to interview that woman. So I contacted her, and out of that, you know, heaps of emails she got, all tagging her, was mine, and she agreed to come on the radio. Now, Professor Leslie, you'll notice later on I'm talking about fat, and that's primarily because of the support that she's given me, and I felt there was an opportunity there to actually make a difference. The available channels, right? I was still at this point producing the radio show and writing to magazines to try to get rid of the adverts, and it was becoming a bit of a full-time job, and I thought there's got to be a smarter way of doing this. So I went onto the internet one day and I found the complaints resolution panel. And you could actually get rid of one ad from everywhere, all from the television, from the web, and from paper media. And I thought, okay, I'll give that a go. Now at this point I'm still doing interesting things, and I'm quite intimidated about a site that has 35 pages to define evidence. To me it should be 3 lines. But anyway, there's a lot of, you know, mumbo jumbo on that site. So my New Year's resolution last year was to put in a complaint. So when no one was watching, I printed out the page. It had a little box on it, and I wrote really teeny writing to fit in. I didn't even think to put an attachment. Posted it in. 3 months later, that complaint was upheld, and that advert disappeared from everywhere. And I thought, wow, that got me onto quite a lot. I've put in several hundred since then. At that point, the complaints resolution panel told me they were getting 10 complaints a month. Well, that number has dramatically increased since then, because, and there are people there, if you see anonymous, I'll take all the credit for it, but in all honesty, a lot of them are not me, I don't know who they are. But you can see one person can inspire other people to do it, and that's just been fantastic. Anyway, on the site as well, I thought, well, here I've got rid of this one product in the newspaper. I thought maybe there's a better way of doing that. And so I contacted them and I said, is there any way I can get a list of all the products that have been approved by the TGA? And they said, oh, it's on the website. Oh. Anyway, so I went through and I found it. And it gives listing number, product name and sponsor, and a little search engine. Well, that was Christmas for me. You don't give that to a computer person. For 7 months in a row, I wrote a report. Wrote a report which had a little letter at the front asking the TGA that there's a product that they have listed, a range of products that don't work. I put in the science, and at the end of it, I put in all the products, straight off their database. So here's one here. Is the TGA contributing to the obesity epidemic? As you can see, I'm fairly forward. Listing 500 totally useless weight loss products. And I would quote science. And this was the power I have as a scientist, is to actually put out clinical trials. The speech I would like to have given yesterday when I was awarded the Skeptics of the Year was the fact that I stand on the shoulders of giants. I wave the flag for science and for medical research. And those giants are the skeptics and skeptically minded people and professors. And I'm not going to let them down. Anyway, 7 months in a row, I sent these reports. Now, I did 20 copies of these reports. I was a very busy girl, getting them all bound and covered. And then I would send them out to the professors and people that had helped me, that I'd interviewed on the radio, and also to anyone I thought that might be able to contribute to me. So there's a lot of paper, a lot of trees died for this. That brings me back to last year's Skeptics conference. In the middle of all this, Professor Leslie Campbell, that's the Garvan Institute, Diabetes and Obesity, sent one of those reports with weight loss to Tony Abbott, demanded he delist the products. Now that was, an article came out in Australian Doctor called to delist natural therapies. It's on the internet. And that came out the week of last year's conference. And I thought, how lucky was that? In fact, one of the speakers actually had it up there, you know, and I'm there, it's me, that's me. So I was quite pleased with that. Timing is very important, because I've missed out with New Idea magazine. Anyway, I thought then, I'm going to spend a year just on weight loss. If I can just focus on one particular product and try to get the law changed for that. And I also thought I would just focus on pharmacies as well while I was at it myself, so a little bit of fun then. Talking about weight loss, the one thing I needed was a product that had been discredited, that was a home profile product. So I waited looking at what complaints had come in, and I put complaints in, but generally they'd say, no, it's a balanced view. Anyway, Dr. Ken Harvey put in a complaint against a product called Xantrax in November last year. The complaint was upheld in February. Finally, I had my product, because the sponsors could no longer say that this product was a weight loss product, nor that it suppressed the appetite, and a whole bunch of other claims. And that's the power of a medical person putting in a complaint. They actually know what they're talking about, and that's really, and they've got access to the information as well. I then decided to target the TGA and continue to do that, to say, well, look, here's a product that your own complaints resolution panel doesn't approve of. And that's when I started to learn about the weaknesses in their laws. Here's the actual advert. That finally Dr. Starash recommends a weight loss pill, Xantrax. Now I actually wondered whether he was a real doctor. So I picked up the telephone, you know. There were 2 Starashes on the white pages, and I got hold of him. And he said, oh yes, this product does, you know, it suppresses the appetite, it's a weight loss pill. So I thought, wow, he's not a very nice person. Anyway, this advert, even though it's been banned in February, this has an April date, so it's still very hard, even then, to get rid of the advertising. They're very slow on the uptake. Now the other thing is, you think, well, wow, I've got rid of the advertising. No. These are still appearing in pharmacies, health food stores around Australia. The Complaints Resolution Panel has no jurisdiction within pharmacies, within health food stores, within anything else. All they are is the media. So even now today, Woolworths is actually selling it. So is every pharmacy I've ever walked into. The problem is this. Maltesers, we've all seen that. The law is that if you have a herbal remedy and you can prove that it's been used for 3 generations for any indication, you can actually go onto the internet and apply for a listing number for it. Now, the definition of evidence is 2 things, and I love the way they've written it. First of all, it's traditional, and the next thing, it's scientific. And there's a whole subtlety there. They've got one under the other. Now, if it's scientifically proven not to work, that doesn't matter, providing you can prove that there's some traditional history to it. So this particular jar, weight loss pill, which is recommended by a scientist, has all the right, available at a pharmacy near you soon. It's got all the correct stuff on the back. It's got, you know, chocolate in it and sugar and all these herbal remedies. It's high in antioxidants and vitamins and all the rest. I'm pleased to know that John Howard got a box of these, as did a number of senators, and I got to meet them. And that's the loophole that we've been trying to shut. I actually, focusing on weight loss, I just said, right, I want evidence to equal efficacy for weight loss. And that's the message I just hammered all the time. Right. Now this presentation is called Pharmacies Feasting on Fat. Now the first thing I want to say is there are thousands of hard-working pharmacists around Australia, absolutely wonderful people that do a terrific job. Most of them support, in fact all that I've met support what I'm doing, but I'm sure there's a couple out there that want the dark side. I'm certainly not having a go at them. As a breast cancer patient, when I went in there, they always came out and helped with anything I needed to have done and spent the time talking to me. So this is certainly not about hard-working pharmacists. However, I call it pharmacies because something happens when they become pharmacy owners. It's a Jekyll and Hyde thing. I think maybe I can explain why, which I'll do later on. Walk into any pharmacy anywhere in Australia and you can buy this pad. It works on a reflexology point. So you stick it under your toes and it'll detox your eyeballs. A little bit of homeopathy. Take this remedy and it will stop your cravings for sugar and fat. This one. Squirt it in your mouth and you'll think you've had a 3-course meal. Then of course there's the patches. Put them on at night and when you wake up you'll be all slim and gorgeous. There are slimming teas and coffees, all sorts of pills and potions. Now they're not just called weight loss. They could be called calorie burning, carb burning, thermogenic, weight accelerators, metabolism boosters, liver tonics, detox. There's even one that's on the internet that is, balances your kidney meridians to boost your liver key. And so that's actually on, and that's, fortunately, I got that one out in both the Australian and the Sydney Morning Herald. And that's what the sponsor actually listed the product under with the TGA. So you can say anything. Sad world it is. Now say it gets a bit worse than that. There's a new deal going around. And that's meal replacements. Now there is a place for meal replacements. If any of you here have had major surgery or know someone that's well nourished and needed surgery, the doctors may have put them on meal replacements for a few months before they have the surgery, just to get the weight back down a bit. So I'm certainly not knocking on that side. But suddenly we find that you go down to your local pharmacy and they have a program that works. Anyway, so I went along to the local pharmacy to one of these presentations. You had to ring up and book and make your time, so you sat there. And I said, how do you define success? So you marched in a bunch of people and they'd all lost 5, 6, 10 kilos over the last 3 months. Well, the correct definition for success for weight loss is maintaining that weight off for 12 months, 5 years. The trouble is with these meal replacements, and there was a very good story in the last issue of the Skeptics by Stuart Adams, then you saw that, is that they're nutritionally very poor. So there's always an opportunity there for the pharmacist to sell you a few more things while you're in there. Also, they're not approved by the National Heart Foundation. They also, I think it's a thing called ketosis, where your breath goes really bad and you might go a bit mental. So the balance in there isn't quite right. Now, it's not just Tony Ferguson, there's Betty Baxter, Club OptiSlim, Zandu, Sandra Cabot, Success, the list goes. Every week a new one pops out. So there's quite a range to choose from, but they're all peddling the same thing, which is short-term weight loss. But what the bottom line is, weight loss, these products do not teach you how to meal plan. If you want to lose weight, it's not about dieting. No diet, well, the research shows that if you lose 10 kilos now, 12 months, you'll put that 10 on plus another 2, because you haven't actually been trained in how to stock your fridge and what to do. So it's a real scam because, say, Tony Ferguson, 350,000 clients. according to Stuart, who's on their records. And they're in there having 2, maybe even sometimes 3 meal replacements a day. I mean, I personally don't want to live on 12 varieties of milkshakes for the rest of my life, nor even one, if there's a better way. I mean, I love meal replacements. I mean, I was brought up with Linus biscuits and Rivita and Vegemite, or it could be a salad instead. So the whole point of weight loss really is about education as well. Now, the pharmacists there actually know that people, once they've got them, they've probably got them forever. Now, say it gets worse here, because when I was at the pharmacy, I was talking about, I'll go back one step. My breast cancer support group invited a naturopath. So I went along. In fact, actually fought tooth and nail to stop them from coming, because I just pointed out that they kill people, minor eater. And the woman said, no, the ladies are allowed to invite these people. So I said, okay, I'll come and take notes. Now I went to the meeting, and that naturopath totally slag doctors. They're just drug salesmen, they're owned by the drug companies. The only good doctors are in the ER section of the hospital. And one woman stood up and said, you know, she was selling concentrated soy. And a woman stood up and said, look, you know, my doctor says I'm not allowed to have too much soy. And this naturopath said, oh, this is these are good estrogens that'll fight the bad estrogens, you know. Take any advice from a doctor on nutrition with a grain of salt. I've done 4 years training and the doctor's done 12 hours. And this was the whole attitude of this. Then she promptly gave us 15 bits of advice, which was, you know, microwave food has no nutrition, tin food has no nutrition, you know, irradiated food causes cancer, margarine causes cancer, don't eat anything white, eat lots of stuff that's purple. Pretty well. And she also said, don't drink milk and don't drink alcohol. Well, I didn't go down too well here, would it? Anyway, that girl is now giving weight loss advice. Come to our area, and she's there. And this is what concerns me. She also did kinesiology, iridology, and homeopathy as well. So you can go down to your local pharmacy, and one of these staff members will be there, and because they're trained in herbs, they will also look into your eyes with a bit of iridology and have a whole lot of other products to sell you. And that really does concern me. Now, my GP rang me up a couple of months ago, very distressed. One of her patients had schizophrenia, was on one of these weight loss programs, and the naturopath told her to stop taking her schizophrenia medication. Now, what is this doing? GPs now cannot trust. They send a sick patient off to get their prescription medicine, and the next thing, they've been giving advice by someone that graduated with Harry Potter. Doesn't seem right. And that's some of the points of the naturopath cross-selling the stuff. They're judged on how much they can sell. And there's always, you know, a nice little remedy for you. Forgetting to point out that there is no proof for a lot of these products. And they're measured on cross-selling as well. Now, what can you do? As I said, I'm hoping that from this talk, next time you see something really dodgy, you might email, say something, lobby, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't have to be to do with health products. Whatever your passion is, put your hand up and be counted, because the silence is killing us, and that's really a problem as well. Now, another thing happened. While I was waiting, I decided to take on the pharmacies. And so I found a pharmacy that was in New South Wales, was heavily advertising this dodgy green tea-based herbal remedy for weight loss. So I put in a complaint to the New South Wales Pharmacy Board. And what the Pharmacy Board said is, yes, we have Bulletin 8 that says our pharmacists can only sell evidence-based medicine. And they said, we'll put it to the next review. And they put it to the next review, and it said, take it up with the TGA. The complaint against Dr. Starrett, take it up with the TGA. And I thought, well, and when you put in a complaint, you wait 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Now, I'm not one to sit around looking at my letterbox. And I thought, I'd had success very early on by quoting a mission statement for the magazine that had actually worked for me. They'd pull the ad because the thing said we're concerned about the well-being of seniors. And I thought, I wonder if Woolworths has got something like that mission statement. Anyway, I went to their website, and they did. They had an Environment and Community Report 2005 that said that all their products worked. Anyway, so I wrote a nice letter to them with a report, the usual, quarter-inch or 1 centimetre report, and sent it in to them. 11 clinical trials. I had the determinations that Xantrax didn't work included. I had a nice letter that said, look, you guys do a great job, and they do. There's lots of nice little packets of lettuce that you can buy. There's a lot of fresh food there. There's packaged meals. There's all the labelling saying what calories. So if you're really, really keen just before Christmas to prepare for your Christmas dinner, you can actually go around through Woolworths and educate yourself. And, you know, we all know potato chips aren't very good for you, and apples are good. So with Woolworths, I said, the problem is you're being let down by these unscrupulous sponsors who are taking advantage of, you know, your good nature and selling stuff, I figured honey works better than vinegar. Anyway, I sent one copy to the CEO, and then I sent a copy to every board member as well, didn't I? I figured they're not going to exactly, you know, I do the best I can. Anyway, he passed that down to one of their general managers, and the general manager said, yes, we are concerned about the obesity epidemic, which I've mentioned in there. And he said, we were going to ask the sponsor for proof. And I thought, goodness, how many more clinical trials do I need to include? Anyway, so then I waited another month. And I thought, while I'm waiting, I'll just go back to Professor Leslie to see if she can give me a bit of a hand. She wrote a great letter saying, you know, that she supported what I was doing and that, you know, there wasn't, you know, selling all these dodgy products wasn't a good thing. So she sent that in. And then I waited another month, and out came the letter saying, it's not our job to regulate. And anyway, Professor Leslie said, leave this one to me, Loretta. And she wrote the most scathing letter to Woolworths on St. Vincent's Hospital letterhead, saying that she had them on record that they were not only selling a product they knew didn't work, but it might harm their patients. Well, I was going on an overseas trip then, and I thought, well, that's all I can do. And I had a lovely holiday, you know. Did all the Chinese medicine stuff. And you know, went through Germany, did the homeopathy stuff, and went to America, did the lot, and came back home. And I thought, there is one more thing I can do. Now, last year's Skeptics conference was incredibly interesting, and they had a couple of journalists there who actually talked about what it was like from their side. And she said that, I think it's from the Age, and she said, look, we don't want to write bad reports, but we need help. And she asked the Skeptics then to be on tap if something happened, to put a hand up to say, like Professor Kay there, if it's on nuclear, he could address the problem as well. And I thought, well, wow, these people aren't as bad as we all think, because we do a lot of attacking of the media. Anyway, so I thought I'd prepare something as neat as could be. Everything in nice folders with bits on the front, just putting what's in the folder, you know, whether it's naturopaths or Woolworths or whatever it is. And I posted that in. Now, the journalist was on holiday for a week, so I had to wait a week, and I knew this conference was coming up. I hope something happens between now and then. Anyway, within an hour of forgetting it, I got this very urgent phone call. She said, this is terrific stuff. Now, what I didn't mention was Woolworths also included a letter from Cat Media that said that they had a submission to Tony Abbott to dilute the laws of evidence even further. And this was attached, private and confidential. Well, that was just fantastic to see what was going on behind the scenes. Of course, I sent all that out to ministers as well. Anyway, so our girl was pretty happy about this. So at this point, I was just doing Woolworths. I thought I'd just try, see how she went. Anyway, she said, we're going to be in Saturday's Sydney Morning Herald. So, of course, I told everybody I know, Saturday's Sydney Morning Herald. Then Friday came and she said, look, I can't get the room and I'm not putting it in past page 12. So then it got delayed, and then she got back to me the next week and she said, oh, my editor said I should include pharmacies and, you know, and attack the TGA. Well, I had all the documentation for them as well, so back I went, put a whole bunch more folders, all neatly written out, sent it to her. Get a phone call. Loretta, this is fantastic, there's 4 articles here. And as you can see, that was only in the last 2 weeks. So things are still happening. I've got another report out for Woolworths. I'm still onto those pharmacists because there's things happening in their world as well. And so I've been rather busy. It's been a lot of fun, but normally I have a bag of dandelion roots, but the motor one staying has all these sort of cactusy things here. But one thing I've really enjoyed is looking at this mathematically, dandelion root, $1,000 a kilo. They're selling, when you look at these herbal remedies, it's about $1 a pill, $50 for 50 pills. And you see what the content is in the pill, and you're lucky if you get a gram. So when you mathematically extend that, you're paying $1,000 a kilo for a garden weed. And that product's called Diuret. So it's all there. I double-checked the figures a few weeks ago. They're lots of times in milligrams. So you're paying an enormous amount of money for these products that just don't work. So it's been great fun. Down the bottom there is the website. It sells nothing, advertises nothing, 2 search engines and an encyclopedia. It's all health stuff. So you'll look at Cochrane and Medline Plus, and I say 400 links. It's now number 4 in the world on health directories. So I'm just going to check when I get home. It's got all these. We were given a number of websites. I encourage people to send me in websites, and I'll happily add them to it. So that website's been quite good. I get people into it, and they can go wherever they want. Now, one little test I do is I check whether the site recommends homeopathy. So there aren't too many British sites in there. They're a bit strange over there. There's professors all over the world been helping me. I've got a professor in England and a professor in America who send me material as well. So that's just been terrific. Anyway, thank you.
Questions. Who wants to put a question? Or are you all overwhelmed by the speakers? Okay, I think it's all very, very clear. Yes, Mr. Simon.
I have a question. Isn't there like a fabulous website where you've got radio, media and videos and things?
Absolutely. So another thing that the Skeptics have done for me is that they've set up a website, Mystery Investigators, and when I've been, like 2 weeks ago, I was on 2UE, they offered me 5 minutes. I went in, I got 11, because I went in battling, and people just love attacking wars, so I just, whatever they're about, I'm quite happy. And Richard recorded that show, and he's done quite a lot, a number of professors. The links are all there, you can actually listen to Professor Leslie, and some of the others as well. So, thank you very much, Richard, and that's the kind of support I've been getting.
Okay, well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the